Welcome to 2 hours of SpongeBob lore to sleep to. Tonight, we'll dive deep beneath the waves to explore the surprisingly rich and detailed world of Bikini Bottom, where a cheerful sponge's underwater friends have created a universe far more complex than it first appears. As you settle in and prepare for peaceful dreams, let the gentle current of the ocean carry you through the complete story of SpongeBob SquarePants, from the tiniest details of daily life under the sea to the grand mysteries that have puzzled fans for decades. This is a comprehensive journey through every corner of Bikini Bottom, told in a way that will softly guide you into restful sleep. Far beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, in a place where sunlight filters down through countless fathoms of water, lies the underwater city of Bikini Bottom. This isn't just any underwater town, but a thriving community where sea creatures live lives surprisingly similar to those on land, yet wonderfully different in ways that make perfect sense in their aquatic world. The town sits in a valley on the ocean floor, surrounded by kelp forests that sway in the currents like trees in a gentle breeze, creating a landscape both alien and familiar. The history of Bikini Bottom stretches back millions of years, though the exact founding of the modern town remains somewhat mysterious. According to various historical accounts shared throughout the series, the area was once home to prehistoric creatures, including primitive sponges and starfish who were the ancestors of some current residents. The town as we know it today seems to have been established sometime in the medieval period, as evidenced by the occasional references to knights, kings, and ancient traditions that still influence daily life. The name Bikini Bottom itself comes from its location beneath Bikini Atoll, a real coral reef in the Marshall Islands. This connection to the real world isn't just geographical trivia, but hints at deeper mysteries about how this underwater civilization came to be. Some theories suggest that the unique properties of Bikini Bottom's inhabitants might be related to the nuclear testing that occurred at Bikini Atoll in the 1940s and 1950s, though this remains unconfirmed speculation that adds an intriguing layer to the town's backstory. The geography of Bikini Bottom is more varied and interesting than one might expect from an underwater town. The main residential area consists of a neighborhood where most of the main characters live, with houses that reflect their owners' personalities in remarkable ways. Beyond this central area, the town extends into various districts and regions, each with its own character and purpose. There's the industrial district where many residents work, the cultural district with museums and theaters, and the commercial areas where shopping and dining happen. The town's infrastructure is surprisingly advanced, with a complex system of roads that cars somehow drive on despite being underwater, buses that run on regular schedules, and even an airport that receives flights from other parts of the ocean. Street lights illuminate the roads at night, traffic signals direct the flow of vehicles, and fire hydrants stand ready for emergencies, all functioning in ways that seem to ignore the fact that everything is submerged in water. This peculiar logic is part of what makes Bikini Bottom such a fascinating place. At the heart of Bikini Bottom stands a Krusty Krab, perhaps the most important building in the entire town. This restaurant, shaped like a lobster trap and topped with ship's masts and crow's nest, serves as more than just a place to eat. It's a social hub, an economic center, and the source of the town's most famous product, the Krabby Patty. The building itself has a rich history, having been established by Eugene Krabs after he acquired it and transformed it from its previous incarnation as a retirement home called the Rusty Krab. The Krusty Krab's location on the main street of Bikini Bottom makes it easily accessible to residents and visitors alike. The restaurant consists of a dining area with tables and booths, a kitchen where the magic happens, Mr. Krabs' office where money is counted and business decisions are made, and a bathroom that has seen its share of adventures. The establishment also features a freezer, a storage area, and the infamous patty vault where the secret formula is supposedly kept, though its actual location has varied throughout different episodes. Next door to the Krusty Krab sits its eternal rival, the Chum Bucket. This restaurant, owned and operated by Sheldon J. Plankton, has never achieved the success of its neighbor despite countless attempts to steal customers and secrets. The Chum Bucket's architecture reflects its owner's personality and ambitions, resembling a bucket with a handle but also incorporating high-tech elements that hint at Plankton's scientific genius. Inside, the restaurant is usually empty of customers, containing instead various inventions, schemes, and a computer wife Karen who helps run the establishment. The residential area of Bikini Bottom showcases some of the most iconic homes in animation history. SpongeBob's pineapple house stands as a cheerful monument to tropical living, having literally fallen from the surface world and taken root on the ocean floor. The pineapple's interior is surprisingly spacious, featuring multiple rooms including a library, a kitchen, multiple bedrooms, and Gary's personal spaces. The house has demonstrated remarkable resilience, having been destroyed and regrown multiple times throughout the series. Patrick Star's residence, located right next to SpongeBob's, consists of a large rock with a hollow space beneath it. This simple dwelling perfectly suits Patrick's uncomplicated lifestyle. The underside of the rock has been shown to contain various furnishings that appear and disappear as needed, including a television, a chair, and occasionally more elaborate decorations when the plot requires them. The rock itself seems to possess unusual properties, sometimes appearing hollow and sometimes solid, adapting to whatever the situation demands. Between SpongeBob and Patrick's home stands the Easter Island head, where Squidward tentacles resides. This distinctive blue structure with its windows for eyes and door for a mouth reflects Squidward's pretensions to culture and sophistication. The interior is decorated with self-portraits, artwork, and musical instruments that showcase Squidward's artistic ambitions. The house includes multiple rooms arranged vertically, connected by an elegant staircase that Squidward descends each morning with varying degrees of enthusiasm. The layout of this trio of houses creates a perfect triangle of interpersonal dynamics. SpongeBob and Patrick's proximity enables their constant adventures and friendship, while Squidward's position between them ensures he's always within range of their enthusiastic disturbances. This arrangement isn't accidental, but carefully designed to facilitate the show's central relationship dynamics and create natural opportunities for interaction and conflict. Sandy Cheek's tree dome represents one of Bikini Bottom's most remarkable structures. This massive glass dome contains an air-filled environment that allows Sandy, a land mammal, to live underwater. Inside, she's created a piece of Texas, complete with a tree, grass, and various scientific equipment. The dome's airlock system allows underwater visitors to enter, though they must wear water helmets to survive in the air. The tree dome serves as both Sandy's home and her laboratory, where she conducts experiments and invents devices that often play important roles in various adventures. The tree dome's presence in Bikini Bottom raises interesting questions about the town's relationship with the surface world. Sandy's ability to maintain this terrestrial environment underwater, complete with changing seasons and weather patterns, demonstrates a level of technological sophistication that surpasses what's typically available in Bikini Bottom. Her tree has been shown to go through seasonal changes, losing leaves in fall and blooming in spring, creating a unique microclimate within the underwater world. Now, let's explore the remarkable residents who bring Bikini Bottom to life, starting with the town's most enthusiastic citizen. SpongeBob SquarePants wasn't always the fry cook we know today. His early life remains somewhat mysterious, though we know he was born on July 14, 1986, to Harold and Margaret SquarePants. His parents, who appear to be naturally round sea sponges rather than rectangular kitchen sponges like their son, live in a different part of the ocean and visit occasionally, always expressing pride in their son's achievements no matter how modest they might seem. SpongeBob's rectangular shape and his resemblance to a kitchen sponge rather than a sea sponge has never been fully explained, adding to the mysteries of his origin. Some episodes have suggested he might have been influenced by his grandmother's genes, as she appears more rectangular than his parents. His absorbent and yellow and porous nature gives him unique abilities, including the capacity to absorb enormous amounts of water, change his shape at will, and regenerate from injuries that would be fatal to other creatures. His journey to becoming a fry cook at the Krusty Krab began when he was ready to enter the workforce as a young adult. The story of his hiring is legendary in Bikini Bottom history. Mr. Krabs initially doubted the enthusiastic sponge's abilities and sent him on what was meant to be an impossible task, obtaining a hydrodynamic spatula with port and starboard attachments and turbo drive. SpongeBob not only found such a spatula, but returned with it, demonstrating the determination and resourcefulness that would make him the Krusty Krab's most valuable employee. SpongeBob's personality is defined by his boundless optimism and childlike wonder at the world around him. He approaches each day with enthusiasm that never seems to diminish, no matter what challenges he faced the day before. This is a mere naivety, but a conscious choice to see the best in everything and everyone. He finds joy in the simplest activities, from blowing bubbles to jellyfishing, and his happiness is genuinely infectious to those willing to embrace it. His relationship with his pet snail, Gary, reveals another dimension of SpongeBob's character. Gary, despite being a snail, demonstrates intelligence that often surpasses that of many Bikini Bottom residents. He meows like a cat, but can understand complex speech and has been shown to read, write, and even compose music. The bond between SpongeBob and Gary goes beyond typical pet-owner relationships. They're genuine companions who support each other through various adventures and challenges. SpongeBob's work at the Krusty Krab isn't just a job, but a calling. He arrives early, stays late, and takes pride in every patty he creates. His dedication to the perfect Krabby Patty borders on artistic obsession. He's developed his own techniques and standards that go far beyond what Mr. Krabs requires, treating each burger as a small masterpiece. This dedication has made him virtually irreplaceable, as shown in episodes where his absence leads to culinary disasters. His educational background includes attending Mrs. Puff's boating school for an extended period, where he's repeatedly failed his driving test despite knowing every theoretical aspect of driving. This ongoing struggle represents one of SpongeBob's few areas of consistent failure, though he approaches each test with the same optimism as the first. His inability to drive has become so legendary that Mrs. Puff has developed various psychological conditions from the stress of teaching him. Patrick Star, SpongeBob's best friend and neighbor, presents an interesting contrast to the industrious Sponge. Patrick's family history reveals that the Stars have lived in Bikini Bottom for generations, with various relatives showing up throughout the series. His parents, Herb and Margie Star, demonstrate that Patrick's simple nature might be hereditary, though his sister Sam shows that physical strength runs in the family even if intelligence doesn't. Patrick's lifestyle is remarkably minimalist, spending most of his time sleeping under his rock or engaging in activities with SpongeBob. He has no regular job, instead living off occasional temporary employment and possibly some form of inheritance or savings that's never fully explained. His ability to survive without steady income adds to the mysterious economics of Bikini Bottom, where basic needs seem to be met regardless of employment status. Despite his apparent simplicity, Patrick occasionally demonstrates surprising depths. He's shown moments of unexpected wisdom, usually immediately followed by actions that contradict any assumption of intelligence. These glimpses suggest that Patrick's ignorance might sometimes be a choice rather than an inability, a decision to avoid the complications that come with thinking too much about life's problems. Patrick's friendship with SpongeBob represents one of the purest relationships in Bikini Bottom. They've known each other since they were very young, building a bond based on shared interests and mutual acceptance. Patrick never judges SpongeBob for his eccentricities, and SpongeBob never condescends to Patrick for his simplicity. Their friendship has survived numerous conflicts and misunderstandings, always returning to its foundation of genuine affection. The dynamics of their friendship reveal important truths about both characters. SpongeBob needs Patrick's laid-back approach to balance his own intensity, while Patrick needs SpongeBob's energy to motivate him beyond his natural inertia. Together, they create a balance that, while often destructive to their surroundings, brings them both joy and fulfillment that neither could achieve alone. Squidward Quincy Tentacles represents the adult perspective in Bikini Bottom's narrative, though his age remains ambiguous. He's old enough to be concerned about his future, but young enough to still have dreams of artistic greatness. His middle name, Quincy, was revealed later in the series, adding a touch of formality to a character who desperately wants to be taken seriously. Squidward's background in the arts shapes much of his personality and frustrations. He studied creative disciplines, possibly at university or art school, and came to Bikini Bottom with dreams of becoming a recognized artist and musician. His clarinet playing, while painful to most listeners, represents his ongoing commitment to these artistic ambitions despite lack of success or recognition. His employment at the Krusty Krab as a cashier represents everything Squidward believes went wrong with his life. He sees the job as beneath his talents and education, a temporary position that somehow became permanent. His workspace, a boat-shaped counter called a cash register boat, has become a prison where he spends his days taking orders from customers he generally despises and working for a boss who values money over employee satisfaction. The relationship between Squidward and his neighbors forms the central conflict of his life. He moved to Bikini Bottom, seeking a quiet place to practice his art, only to find himself sandwiched between the two loudest, most enthusiastic residents in the ocean. His attempt to find peace and quiet led to increasingly elaborate schemes, from building walls to moving away entirely, none of which provide lasting relief. Despite his grumpy exterior, Squidward has shown that he does care about SpongeBob and Patrick on some level. In moments of genuine danger or sadness, he's intervened to help them, though he usually quickly reverts to his standard annoyance. These moments suggest that his frustration comes not from genuine hatred, but from a fundamental incompatibility between his desired lifestyle and the reality of his situation. Squidward's dreams and aspirations provide some of the show's most poignant moments. His imagination often takes him to worlds where he's appreciated, where his art is celebrated, and where he lives in luxury far from the chaos of his actual life. These fantasy sequences reveal a rich inner life that contrasts sharply with his mundane existence, making him perhaps the most tragic character in Bikini Bottom. Eugene H. Krabs, known universally as Mr. Krabs, built his restaurant empire from humble beginnings. Born to Victor and Betsy Krabs, he grew up in poverty, which shaped his relationship with money for the rest of his life. His mother, who still lives in Bikini Bottom and occasionally appears in episodes, raised him with Depression-era values that emphasized thrift and hard work. Mr. Krabs' early life included a stint in the Navy, where he earned the nickname Armor Abs Krabs, and developed a discipline that would later help him in business. His military service exposed him to the wider ocean and different cultures, but also reinforced his survival instincts and competitive nature. The skills he learned in the Navy, from leadership to logistics, would prove invaluable in running his restaurant. The story of how Mr. Krabs discovered or created the Krabby Patty secret formula remains one of Bikini Bottom's greatest mysteries. Various episodes have provided different accounts, some suggesting he inherited it from his mother, others that he discovered it through experimentation, and still others hinting at more mysterious origins. The only consistency is that the formula transformed his life and became his most guarded possession. His relationship with money goes beyond simple greed to something approaching religious devotion. Mr. Krabs doesn't just want money. He forms emotional attachments to individual coins and bills. He's been shown talking to his money, crying over lost pennies, and experiencing physical pain when separated from his wealth. This obsession affects every aspect of his life, from his business practices to his personal relationships. Despite his miserly nature, Mr. Krabs is a devoted father to his daughter Pearl, a whale whose biological origins remain unexplained. Whether Pearl is adopted, the child of a former relationship with a whale, or the result of some other circumstance has never been definitively revealed. What is clear is that Mr. Krabs loves Pearl deeply and tries to provide for her despite their vastly different interests and personalities. The Krusty Krab under Mr. Krabs' management operates on principles that would horrify modern business consultants but somehow work in Bikini Bottom. He pays his employees minimum wage or less, charges for every possible service, including standing, breathing, and existing in certain areas, and cuts costs in ways that often endanger customers and staff. Yet the restaurant remains successful, primarily due to the quality of the product and SpongeBob's dedication. Pearl Krabs represents one of Bikini Bottom's most intriguing mysteries. A teenage whale living with her crab father, she towers over most residents and has needs that often conflict with Mr. Krabs' frugal nature. Her biological mother has never been shown or definitively mentioned, leading to endless speculation about her origins. Some theories suggest she might be adopted, others that Mr. Krabs had a relationship with a whale that produced Pearl, and still others propose more fantastical explanations. Pearl's life as a teenager in Bikini Bottom involves typical adolescent concerns amplified by her unique situation. She attends Bikini Bottom High School, where she's popular despite or perhaps because of her distinctive nature. Her interests include boys, shopping, and music, particularly the boy band Boys Who Cry. These normal teenage pursuits often bring her into conflict with her father's penny-pinching ways. The relationship between Pearl and Mr. Krabs reveals softer sides of both characters. Despite his cheapness, Mr. Krabs genuinely tries to make Pearl happy, occasionally spending significant money on her birthdays or special occasions. Pearl, despite frequent embarrassment about her father's behavior, loves him and has shown she values their relationship more than material possessions, though she certainly enjoys those too. Sandy Cheeks arrived in Bikini Bottom as part of a scientific mission, though the exact nature and sponsors of this mission have varied in different tellings. She comes from Texas, where she lived above water like a normal squirrel before deciding to pursue marine science. Her decision to live underwater required significant preparation, including construction of her air dome and the development of various technologies to survive in an aquatic environment. Sandy's background reveals she's not just a scientist, but a true polymath. She's an inventor, a martial arts expert, a musician, and an athlete of remarkable ability. Her karate skills match or exceed those of anyone in Bikini Bottom, and she regularly engages in friendly sparring matches with SpongeBob. Her inventions range from practical devices that solve everyday problems to elaborate machines that sometimes cause more trouble than they solve. Her relationship with the other residents of Bikini Bottom shows her adaptability and social intelligence. Despite being literally a fish out of water, or rather a squirrel in water, she's integrated into the community while maintaining her Texan identity. She celebrates Texas culture, occasionally feels homesick, but has clearly made Bikini Bottom her second home. Her friendship with SpongeBob began when he and Patrick tried to catch her, thinking she was a strange creature, but quickly evolved into mutual respect and genuine affection. The scientific work Sandy conducts in her tree dome has produced numerous innovations that have impacted Bikini Bottom. Her inventions include teleportation devices, rockets, robots, and various other technologies that seem impossible but function perfectly in the logic of the underwater world. Her role as the town's primary scientist and inventor makes her an invaluable resource during crises that require more than conventional solutions. Sandy's dual nature as both a land creature and an underwater resident gives her a unique perspective on Bikini Bottom society. She can observe and comment on the oddities of underwater life that residents take for granted, while also participating fully in that life. This outsider-insider status makes her a bridge between worlds and adds depth to the show's exploration of different perspectives and ways of life. Sheldon J. Plankton, owner of the unsuccessful Chum Bucket restaurant, has a backstory that intertwines with Mr. Krabs in surprising ways. Born to Gordon and Mama Plankton, Sheldon grew up as one of many siblings in a large family where individual attention was scarce. This early experience of being overlooked might have contributed to his later obsession with recognition and success. The friendship between young Plankton and young Krabs represents one of Bikini Bottom's great tragedies. They were best friends as children, bonding over their shared status as outcasts and their poverty. Together, they dreamed of opening a restaurant that would make them rich and successful. Their partnership in creating the original Krabby Patty formula should have been the beginning of a business empire, but instead became the source of a lifelong feud. The exact circumstances of how their friendship ended and the feud began have been told different ways in different episodes. Some versions suggest they fought over the formula itself. Others that a food poisoning incident involving their early burgers caused a rift. What's consistent is that the break was bitter and permanent, transforming best friends into arch enemies whose rivalry would define much of their adult lives. Plankton's marriage to Karen, a computer he built himself, represents one of Bikini Bottom's most unusual relationships. Karen isn't just a computer, but a true artificial intelligence with her own personality, opinions, and emotions. She often provides the voice of reason in Plankton's schemes, pointing out flaws and suggesting improvements that he frequently ignores. Their relationship dynamics mirror those of many long-married couples, complete with arguments, reconciliations, and genuine affection. The Chum Bucket's perpetual failure, despite Plankton's genius, reveals important truths about success in Bikini Bottom. Plankton has every advantage except the crucial one: a product people want to eat. His chum-based menu items are uniformly disgusting, and no amount of marketing or theft of the Krabby Patty formula has overcome this fundamental problem. His failure isn't due to lack of intelligence or effort, but to a basic misunderstanding of what customers actually want. Plankton's schemes to steal the Krabby Patty formula have become increasingly elaborate over the years, involving robots, mind control, time travel, and even manipulation of the fabric of reality itself. Each failure teaches him nothing, as he returns with new plans that are often variations of previous failures. This cyclical nature of his villainy has become a defining characteristic of Bikini Bottom's daily life. Mrs. Poppy Puff operates the only driving school in Bikini Bottom, a position that should be straightforward but has become complicated by one particular student. Her background reveals she wasn't always a driving instructor. She had a husband, Mr. Puff, who was captured by humans and turned into a lamp, a tragedy that led her to her current career. This loss adds depth to her character, suggesting that her current frustrations are layered on top of genuine past trauma. Her relationship with SpongeBob has become the defining challenge of her professional life. Despite being an excellent teacher who has successfully taught countless students, she cannot get SpongeBob to pass his driving test. This failure has led to multiple nervous breakdowns, brief incarcerations, and various attempts to escape or eliminate the problem. Her dedication to teaching him despite these challenges shows a professional commitment that borders on masochistic. Mrs. Puff's romantic life took an interesting turn when she began dating Mr. Krabs. Their relationship, based on mutual attraction and shared interests in money and food, provides both characters with dimensions beyond their primary roles. Mrs. Puff shows a softer, more romantic side, while Mr. Krabs demonstrates he can value things beyond money. Their dates and adventures together often reveal vulnerabilities neither shows in their professional lives. The boating school itself serves as a microcosm of Bikini Bottom's approach to education and bureaucracy. The facility includes classrooms, driving courses, and testing areas that somehow function underwater with boats that move along the ocean floor. The logic of underwater driving is never questioned, simply accepted as part of the reality of this aquatic world. Gary the snail deserves special attention as more than just a pet. His full name is Gerald Wilson, Jr., and he comes from a line of royalty, being related to King Amoeba through a complex family tree that was revealed in one episode. This royal lineage explains his often haughty demeanor and his sophisticated taste that contrasts with his owner's simpler pleasures. Gary's intelligence manifests in various ways throughout the series. He's been shown to understand complex speech, solve problems that stump other characters, and even communicate with other animals in ways that suggest a rich inner life. His library, hidden in SpongeBob's house, contains books on various subjects, indicating he's not just intelligent but educated. His relationship with SpongeBob is one of mutual dependence, with Gary often serving as a voice of reason even though his meows are unintelligible to most. The Flying Dutchman stands as Bikini Bottom's primary supernatural entity, a ghost pirate who haunts the seven seas and has done so for centuries. His origin story tells of a pirate who was so fearsome in life that when he died, neither heaven nor hell wanted him, condemning him to wander the ocean forever. His ghostly ship, which can appear and disappear at will, serves as both his home and his primary method of spreading fear. The Dutchman's relationship with Bikini Bottom's residents is complex. While he's nominally a villain who enjoys scaring people, he's also shown to be lonely and sometimes just wants companionship. His interactions with SpongeBob and Patrick have revealed a being who's trapped by his reputation and role, unable to change even when he might want to. His annual Halloween appearances have become almost traditional, expected rather than truly feared. His powers include shape-shifting, teleportation, manipulation of reality, and the ability to steal souls, though he rarely uses this last power to its full extent. The rules governing his existence seem flexible, changing based on the needs of particular stories. Sometimes he's bound by contracts and deals. Other times he acts with complete freedom. This inconsistency adds to his mysterious nature. Larry the Lobster represents physical fitness and beach culture in Bikini Bottom. As a lifeguard at Goo Lagoon, the underwater beach that somehow has water that fish can swim in, Larry maintains order and safety while also serving as a role model for physical health. His dedication to fitness influences many residents, though few can match his commitment to exercise and nutrition. Larry's presence at Goo Lagoon highlights one of Bikini Bottom's most puzzling features, an underwater beach with its own ocean. This beach has waves, sand, and all the features of a surface beach, but exists at the bottom of the ocean. Residents swim in this underwater water, build sandcastles from underwater sand, and surf on underwater waves, all without anyone questioning the logic of this arrangement. The social dynamics at Goo Lagoon reveal much about Bikini Bottom's culture. It's a place where social hierarchies based on physical appearance and ability become more pronounced, where beach bullies kick sand in faces, and where having the right beach body matters. Larry's role as lifeguard gives him authority to maintain order, but also positions him as a judge of beach-appropriate behavior. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Bikini Bottom's resident superheroes, provide a connection to an earlier era of the town's history. These elderly heroes, now living in a retirement home, once protected the ocean from various threats. Their adventures, shown in old television episodes that residents watch, reveal a time when Bikini Bottom faced more dramatic dangers than restaurant rivalry and driving tests. Their origin stories have been told different ways, sometimes suggesting they were always aquatic heroes, other times that they were humans who gained the ability to breathe underwater. What's consistent is that they fought evil for decades before age forced them into retirement. Their rogues gallery, including the Dirty Bubble and Man Ray, represents threats from an earlier, perhaps more dangerous era of Bikini Bottom's history. The relationship between Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy shows the complexity of long-term partnerships. Barnacle Boy's frustration with being treated as a psychic despite his age, and Mermaid Man's declining mental faculties, create tension that reflects real issues of aging and respect. Their occasional returns to action demonstrate that heroism doesn't have an expiration date, even if physical abilities decline. The technology they use, from the invisible boat mobile to the Mermalair, represents an earlier era's approach to crime fighting. These tools still function but seem antiquated compared to Sandy's inventions, suggesting that Bikini Bottom has experienced waves of technological advancement and decline rather than steady progress. Now, let's explore the geography and notable locations of Bikini Bottom in greater detail. The town's layout suggests urban planning that accommodates both the needs of a modern city and the unique requirements of underwater life. Streets and roads create a grid system in some areas, while following more organic patterns in others, possibly following underwater currents or geological features of the ocean floor. Downtown Bikini Bottom serves as the commercial heart of the city. This district contains major businesses, including the Krusty Krab and Chum Bucket, but also numerous other establishments that serve the daily needs of residents. There's a grocery store where residents buy kelp and other underwater produce, the hardware store that sells items like reef blowers and paint that somehow works underwater, and various other shops that provide goods and services essential to underwater life. The residential areas of Bikini Bottom are diverse, ranging from the suburban neighborhood where SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward live to more urban apartment complexes and even trailer parks. Each area has its own character and socioeconomic implications. The suburb where the main characters live appears middle class, with own homes and maintained yards. Other areas show different economic realities, from wealthy districts with large homes to poorer areas with more modest accommodations. Jellyfish Fields, located on the outskirts of Bikini Bottom, serves as the town's primary natural recreation area. This vast meadow of seagrass and coral formations is home to the jellyfish that SpongeBob and Patrick love to catch. The fields operate like a public park, open to all residents but with unwritten rules about conservation and proper treatment of the jellyfish. The area's ecology supports not just jellyfish, but various other species that create a complex ecosystem. The relationship between Bikini Bottom residents and jellyfish reveals much about the town's approach to nature. Jellyfishing is simultaneously a sport, a hobby, and a form of communion with nature. The jellyfish themselves seem to exist in a state between wild animals and something more conscious, sometimes acting with apparent intelligence and purpose. Their jelly is harvested for food, yet they're also respected as living beings with their own rights. Kelp Forest, another natural area near Bikini Bottom, provides a different environment from jellyfish fields. This dense forest of towering kelp creates a darker, more mysterious atmosphere where different adventures occur. The forest has its own ecosystem and dangers, including the presence of predators and the possibility of getting lost among the identical-looking kelp stalks. It serves as Bikini Bottom's wilderness, a place where nature remains largely untamed. Rock Bottom, accessible via a vertical drop from Bikini Bottom, represents one of the ocean's most peculiar locations. This deep-sea town operates on entirely different principles from Bikini Bottom. The residents speak with raspberry sounds between words, making communication difficult for visitors. The architecture is more primitive, carved from rock rather than built, and the atmosphere is darker and more oppressive due to the depth. The transportation system between Bikini Bottom and Rock Bottom consists primarily of a bus service that operates on a schedule known only to itself. The journey between the two cities is treacherous, involving a 90-degree vertical drop that the bus navigates somehow. This connection suggests that despite their differences, the two communities maintain some form of relationship, though the nature of this relationship remains largely unexplored. Rock Bottom's existence raises questions about the vertical geography of the ocean floor and how different communities adapt to different depths. The residents of Rock Bottom have evolved or adapted to their deeper environment, developing their own culture, language modifications, and social structures. Their reaction to visitors from Bikini Bottom ranges from helpful to indifferent, suggesting they're accustomed to confused upper dwellers passing through. New Kelp City, mentioned in various episodes as a major metropolitan area, represents the larger urban world beyond Bikini Bottom. This city is described as more sophisticated and modern than Bikini Bottom, with tall buildings, busy streets, and a faster pace of life. Residents who visit New Kelp City often return with stories of adventure or overwhelming experiences, suggesting it operates on a different scale than the smaller Bikini Bottom. The relationship between Bikini Bottom and larger cities like New Kelp City shows the town's position in the broader underwater world. Bikini Bottom is significant enough to be known, but small enough to maintain its small-town character. Residents can dream of making it big in the city, while also appreciating the simpler pleasures of their smaller community. Atlantis, the legendary lost city, exists in the SpongeBob universe as a real place that can be reached through special means. When SpongeBob and Patrick discovered the lost half of the Atlantean amulet, they gained access to this advanced civilization. Atlantis represents a height of underwater achievement, with technology and culture far exceeding that of Bikini Bottom. The city's existence confirms that the ocean contains civilizations at various levels of development. The Atlanteans' reaction to visitors from Bikini Bottom reveals a cultural superiority complex, but also a loneliness from isolation. Their advanced society has everything except the simple joy and spontaneity that SpongeBob and Patrick bring. This contrast suggests that advancement doesn't necessarily mean improvement in quality of life, a theme that resonates throughout the series. Shell City, featured prominently in the first SpongeBob movie, exists above the ocean's surface, representing the ultimate danger for sea creatures. This gift shop on a beach is decorated with dried and shellacked sea creatures, making it a place of horror for underwater residents. The journey to Shell City requires crossing dangerous territories and eventually leaving the ocean entirely, making it an almost mythical location in Bikini Bottom lore. The existence of Shell City and the dangers it represents adds a dark element to the SpongeBob universe. It confirms that humans exist and pose a threat to sea creatures, even if this threat is rarely acknowledged in regular episodes. The fact that some sea creatures have been to Shell City and returned makes them legendary figures in Bikini Bottom society. Glove World, an amusement park themed around gloves, serves as Bikini Bottom's primary entertainment destination. This park, with its rides, games, and attractions all somehow relating to gloves, represents a unique logic of Bikini Bottom's culture. The park's popularity suggests that residents have fully embraced this peculiar theme, finding joy in attractions like the Fiery Fist O-Pain roller coaster and the Glove Drop. The park operates year-round, providing entertainment that ranges from thrilling to educational, all within the glove theme. The economics of Glove World reveal interesting aspects of Bikini Bottom society. The park employs numerous residents, from ride operators to concession stand workers, providing jobs beyond the restaurant and retail sectors. Ticket prices seem affordable to most residents, suggesting either reasonable pricing or a generally stable economy where even minimum wage workers like SpongeBob can afford occasional entertainment. Now, let's delve deeper into the complex history and rivalry between Mr. Krabs and Plankton, which forms one of the central ongoing narratives of Bikini Bottom. Their story begins in their childhood, when both were poor and unpopular. Eugene Krabs was teased for his smell and his family's poverty, while Sheldon Plankton was bullied for his small size and intelligence. Their shared status as outsiders brought them together in a friendship that seemed destined to last forever. As children, they made a pact to open a restaurant together when they grew up, combining Krabs' business sense with Plankton's scientific knowledge. They spent their youth planning this dream restaurant, designing menus, and imagining their future success. This shared dream gave both of them hope during difficult childhoods and strengthened their bond through adolescence. The creation of the Krabby Patty formula represents the pivotal moment in their relationship. The exact circumstances vary depending on which version of the story is being told, but the basic elements remain consistent. They were working together to create the perfect burger recipe, experimenting with different ingredients and combinations. During this experimentation, something extraordinary happened that resulted in the Krabby Patty formula. Some versions of the story suggest that an accident involving various ingredients created the formula spontaneously. Others imply that one of them, usually crabs, discovered the key ingredient while the other was absent. Still other tellings hint at mysterious or even supernatural elements in the formula's creation. What's certain is that this moment of creation immediately led to conflict over ownership and credit. The argument that ended their friendship was catastrophic and immediate. Both claimed primary credit for the formula's creation. Krabs argued that his business vision and some crucial insight made it possible. Plankton insisted that his scientific knowledge and experimentation were essential. Neither would compromise or agree to equal partnership. The argument escalated until their friendship shattered completely, replaced by a rivalry that would consume both their lives. After their split, Krabs moved quickly to establish the Krusty Krab using the formula, while Plankton opened the Chum Bucket across the street. The proximity of their restaurants was no accident, but a deliberate choice by both to compete directly. Every day, they would see each other's business, a constant reminder of their broken friendship and ongoing rivalry. This physical closeness has kept their conflict fresh and immediate for decades. The secret formula itself has taken on mythical properties in Bikini Bottom. Despite numerous attempts to steal or discover it, the exact ingredients remain known only to Mr. Krabs. The formula is supposedly kept in a safe in the Krusty Krab, though various episodes have shown it hidden in different locations or even kept only in Mr. Krabs' memory. The lengths to which Krabs goes to protect the formula suggest it contains something truly special or perhaps impossible to replicate. Plankton's attempts to steal the formula have evolved from simple break-ins to elaborate schemes involving advanced technology, manipulation, and occasionally reality-warping devices. Each failure only drives him to create more complex plans. He's impersonated various people, controlled minds, traveled through time, and even entered alternate dimensions in pursuit of the formula. His wife, Karen, often points out the flaws in these plans, but Plankton's obsession blinds him to reason. The impact of their rivalry extends far beyond their own businesses. It has shaped Bikini Bottom's economy, with the Krusty Krab's success making it a cornerstone of local commerce, while the Chum Bucket's failure serves as a cautionary tale. Their conflict provides entertainment for residents who watch Plankton's schemes fail, but also occasionally puts the town in danger when plans go awry. Interestingly, there have been moments when Krabs and Plankton have worked together, usually when facing a common threat. These temporary alliances reveal that beneath the rivalry, there remains some trace of their old friendship. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses intimately and can be an effective team when necessary. However, these collaborations always end with a return to rivalry, as neither can truly forgive the past. The psychological toll of their rivalry on both characters is evident. Mr. Krabs' paranoia about the formula's security affects his business decisions and personal relationships. Plankton's repeated failures have created a cycle of depression and manic determination that defines his entire existence. Both are trapped in patterns established decades ago, unable to move forward or let go of the past. Their rivalry has also affected their families. Pearl Krabs has grown up with a father whose primary concern is often his business and protecting it from Plankton. Karen has spent her existence helping Plankton with schemes that she knows will likely fail. The generational impact of this conflict shows how personal rivalries can extend beyond the individuals involved. The economics of their competition raises interesting questions about Bikini Bottom's market. The Krusty Krab's monopoly on edible food should theoretically make Mr. Krabs incredibly wealthy, yet he operates only one location and maintains relatively modest wealth. The Chum Bucket's continued operation despite having virtually no customers suggests either hidden funding sources or remarkably low operating costs. These economic impossibilities are part of Bikini Bottom's unique reality. Let's explore the daily life and culture of Bikini Bottom in more detail. The town operates on a schedule similar to surface cities, with residents going to work in the morning, schools operating during weekdays, and businesses closing at night. However, the concept of day and night underwater is interesting, as sunlight will be filtered and diffused at depth. The town seems to create its own circadian rhythm, with street lights and home lights creating artificial day-night cycles. The workday in Bikini Bottom typically begins with residents commuting to their jobs. Some walk, others drive boats, and still others use public transportation. The sight of fish driving boats underwater remains one of the most charmingly illogical aspects of life in Bikini Bottom. These boats produce exhaust bubbles, require fuel, and can break down, functioning almost exactly like surface vehicles except for being underwater. The education system in Bikini Bottom includes elementary schools, high schools, and at least one community college. Mrs. Puff's boating school serves a specific educational need, though it seems to be a private institution rather than part of the public education system. The curriculum in Bikini Bottom schools appears similar to surface schools, with subjects like math, science, and history, though adapted for underwater life. Students in Bikini Bottom face typical educational challenges. Pearl and her classmates at Bikini Bottom High School deal with social hierarchies, academic pressure, and extracurricular activities. The existence of cheerleading teams, bands, and other school organizations suggests a fully developed educational culture. School dances, graduation ceremonies, and other traditions mirror surface world customs, while incorporating underwater elements. The food culture of Bikini Bottom deserves special attention. While the Krabby Patty dominates the fast food landscape, residents also consume a variety of other foods. Kelp shakes, coral bits, and barnacle chips represent popular snacks. The existence of ice cream underwater, which somehow doesn't immediately dissolve, shows the flexible physics of this world. Residents also eat what appear to be underwater versions of surface foods, like popcorn and cotton candy. The preparation and consumption of food underwater presents logical challenges that are simply ignored. Grills produce fire that burns underwater, oil boils for deep frying, and ice cream stays frozen. These impossibilities are so fundamental to daily life that residents don't question them. The acceptance of these contradictions suggests a world operating on cartoon logic rather than physical laws. Gary's snail food and the dietary needs of different species add complexity to Bikini Bottom's food ecosystem. Different creatures require different nutrition, yet most seem capable of eating the same foods. This dietary flexibility might be an adaptation to living in a diverse community where specialized foods would be impractical. The entertainment industry in Bikini Bottom is surprisingly developed. Television broadcasts include news programs, cartoons, and documentaries. The existence of celebrities like Kevin the Sea Cucumber, who has his own show about jellyfishing, suggests a media ecosystem with stars, fans, and all the associated culture. Movie theaters show films, though how projection works underwater is another unexplained mystery. The Bikini Bottom News, anchored by Perch Perkins, provides regular updates on local events. The news covers everything from mundane local interest stories to major disasters, maintaining a tone of professional journalism despite the often absurd content. The existence of news media suggests a literate population interested in current events and community happenings. Music plays a significant role in Bikini Bottom culture. Squidward's clarinet playing, despite its poor quality, represents classical music traditions. Boys Who Cry and other bands represent popular music. The fact that instruments work underwater, producing clear sounds despite being submerged, is another accepted impossibility. Concerts and performances occur regularly, with residents showing enthusiasm for various musical styles. The annual events and holidays celebrated in Bikini Bottom create a cultural calendar that gives structure to the year. The Fry Cook Games, a competition between restaurants, has become a major sporting event. Valentine's Day, Christmas, and Halloween are celebrated with traditions adapted for underwater life. These celebrations often involve the entire community and have developed their own unique customs. The Fry Cook Games deserve special attention as they represent the elevation of fast food preparation to Olympic status. These games include events like patty flipping, condiment target practice, and other restaurant-themed competitions. The intense rivalry between competitors, particularly SpongeBob representing the Krusty Krab and Patrick representing the Chum Bucket in one notable instance, shows how seriously Bikini Bottom takes its food service industry. Halloween in Bikini Bottom involves trick-or-treating, costume wearing, and the annual appearance of the Flying Dutchman. The adaptation of this surface tradition to underwater life includes costumes that somehow remain intact underwater and candy that doesn't dissolve. The Flying Dutchman's participation adds a genuinely supernatural element to what is otherwise a normal holiday celebration. Christmas underwater presents unique challenges and solutions. Santa Claus apparently visits Bikini Bottom, despite the logical challenges of delivering presents underwater. The existence of Christmas trees, made from coral or other underwater materials, and the decoration of homes with lights that work underwater, shows how surface traditions have been adapted rather than abandoned. The economic system of Bikini Bottom operates on principles that don't quite align with conventional economics. The town uses dollars as currency, with Mr. Krabs' obsession with money driving much of the economic narrative. However, the actual cost of living seems remarkably low, with residents able to afford homes and lifestyles on minimal wages. This economic paradox suggests either a very different economic structure or cartoon logic overriding financial reality. The job market in Bikini Bottom is diverse despite the town's apparently small size. Beyond the obvious restaurant and retail jobs, there are positions in manufacturing, science, entertainment, and various services. The existence of jobs like professional jellyfisher or bubble blower suggests an economy that values activities that would be considered hobbies in the surface world. Unemployment seems rare in Bikini Bottom, with even Patrick, who actively avoids work, occasionally finding employment. This might suggest a strong economy, low cost of living, or social support systems that aren't explicitly shown. The fact that Patrick can survive without steady income implies either savings, family support, or some form of social safety net. The banking system in Bikini Bottom includes at least one bank, which has been robbed multiple times despite the town's generally low crime rate. The bank offers standard services like checking accounts and loans, with Mr. Krabs being presumably one of its largest account holders. The existence of organized banking suggests a sophisticated financial system despite the town's small size. Let's examine the technology of Bikini Bottom, which presents fascinating contradictions. The town has television, telephones, and computers, all functioning perfectly underwater. Karen, Plankton's computer wife, represents advanced artificial intelligence that exceeds current surface world technology. Sandy's inventions often incorporate technology that seems decades ahead of what should be possible. The most remarkable aspect of Bikini Bottom's technology is how it functions underwater without any apparent waterproofing. Electrical devices work without short-circuiting, mechanical devices operate without rusting, and paper products like books and newspapers don't dissolve. This suggests either advanced materials science or physics that operate differently than on the surface. Transportation technology in Bikini Bottom includes boats that drive on the ocean floor, buses that navigate underwater roads, and even airplanes that fly through water. The logic of these vehicles is never explained, but they're essential to daily life. The existence of traffic lights, stop signs, and other traffic control devices suggests a developed transportation infrastructure. The telephone system in Bikini Bottom allows for communication across the ocean, with calls possible to distant locations like Shell City or New Kelp City. The phones themselves are often shell-shaped or incorporate other ocean themes, but function like standard telecommunications devices. The existence of phone lines underwater, which would typically be problematic, is another accepted impossibility. Television broadcasting in Bikini Bottom includes multiple channels with varied programming. The technology for broadcasting and receiving these signals underwater will be incredibly complex, yet it's treated as mundane. Television sets are common in homes, and the programming reflects local interests and culture while occasionally showing content from the broader ocean. Computers exist in Bikini Bottom, with Karen being the most advanced example. But even regular computers are shown in various settings, from the Krusty Krab's cash register to scientific equipment in Sandy's lab. These computers operate despite being submerged, suggesting either advanced waterproofing or different physical laws. The medical technology in Bikini Bottom includes a hospital with functioning equipment, doctors who perform surgery, and various treatments for injuries and illnesses. The existence of X-ray machines, surgical tools, and medicine underwater presents more logical challenges that are simply accepted. Characters recover from injuries that should be fatal, suggesting either advanced medical technology or remarkable healing abilities. Now let's explore some of the mysteries and strange facts about the SpongeBob universe that have puzzled viewers for years. The timeline of Bikini Bottom presents numerous contradictions. Characters' ages seem fluid, with some episodes suggesting they've been their current ages for many years, while others imply normal aging. SpongeBob has had numerous first experiences multiple times, suggesting either a floating timeline or poor continuity. The size scaling in Bikini Bottom is consistently inconsistent. Characters change size relative to objects and each other, depending on the needs of the scene. Buildings are sometimes enormous, and sometimes small enough for characters to step over. This fluid scaling might be a characteristic of the underwater world or simply cartoon physics at work. The question of whether Bikini Bottom exists in our ocean or an alternate dimension has never been definitively answered. The occasional appearance of human objects like boots or fishing hooks suggests connection to our world, but the physics and biology are clearly different. The nuclear testing theory about Bikini Atoll could explain some mutations, but not the level of civilization achieved. The reproductive biology of Bikini Bottom residents remains largely mysterious. Some characters have parents who appear, but the actual process of reproduction is never shown or explained. SpongeBob can reproduce by budding, as shown in some episodes, but also as parents, creating a biological contradiction. The existence of babies and children suggests normal reproduction, but the mechanics remain unclear. The lifespan of Bikini Bottom residents varies dramatically. Some characters reference events from decades or centuries ago, as if they lived through them. The Flying Dutchman has existed for centuries. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy are elderly but have been active for an indeterminate time. These varying lifespans suggest different species age at different rates, or that time itself works differently underwater. The legal system in Bikini Bottom includes police, courts, and prisons, but law enforcement seems arbitrary. Crimes are sometimes punished severely, and sometimes ignored entirely. The police officers, notably officers Nancy and John, appear when needed but don't maintain consistent law enforcement. The existence of a legal system alongside the general chaos of daily life creates interesting contradictions. The geography beyond Bikini Bottom remains largely unexplored. References to other cities and locations suggest a vast underwater world, but the connections between these places are vague. The ocean seems simultaneously vast and small, with characters able to travel great distances quickly when the plot requires it, but unable to leave Bikini Bottom when that serves the story. The language and communication in Bikini Bottom raise questions. All sea creatures speak the same language despite being different species. They can also read and write, with books and signs appearing throughout the town. The existence of a unified language among diverse species suggests either evolution toward communication or some unifying force that enables understanding. The existence of fire underwater is perhaps the most obvious physical impossibility that's consistently present. Campfires burn on the ocean floor, buildings catch fire and require firefighters to extinguish them, and characters can somehow create and maintain flames despite being surrounded by water. This fundamental contradiction is so prevalent that it's become a defining characteristic of the Bikini Bottom universe. The weather in Bikini Bottom includes rain, snow, and wind, all occurring underwater. The concept of underwater rain is particularly puzzling, as it would require water falling through water. Snow suggests temperature variations that would affect the ocean significantly. Wind underwater would require air currents that shouldn't exist. These weather phenomena suggest Bikini Bottom exists in a pocket dimension with its own atmospheric conditions. The ecosystem of Bikini Bottom includes predator-prey relationships that don't follow normal patterns. Characters who should be natural enemies coexist peacefully most of the time. Worms are kept as pets by creatures that would normally be their prey. This peaceful coexistence might be a result of civilization overcoming natural instincts or could suggest different biological relationships than exist in real oceans. The concept of beaches and water within the ocean, as seen at Goo Lagoon, represents one of the most mind-bending aspects of Bikini Bottom physics. This underwater lagoon has its own water that behaves differently from surrounding ocean water. Residents can swim in this water while already being underwater, and they can drown in it despite being sea creatures. This paradox has never been explained and is simply accepted as part of Bikini Bottom's reality. Now let's delve into the cultural impact and hidden meanings within the SpongeBob universe. The show's creator, Steven Hillenburg, was a marine biologist before becoming an animator, and his scientific knowledge influenced many aspects of Bikini Bottom's design. Real marine biology facts are woven throughout the fantasy, creating a blend of education and entertainment that operates on multiple levels. The 7 deadly sins theory suggests that main characters represent different sins. SpongeBob is lust for life, Patrick is sloth, Squidward as wrath, Mr. Krabs is greed, Plankton is envy, Gary is gluttony, and Sandy is pride. While never confirmed officially, these associations add depth to character interpretations and suggest deliberate archetypal design in character creation. The show's treatment of work and capitalism through the Krusty Krab provides subtle commentary on labor relations and economic systems. SpongeBob's enthusiasm for a minimum wage job that enriches his boss while providing him little economic benefit could be read as either admirable dedication or concerning exploitation. Mr. Krabs' extreme capitalism and Plankton's failed attempts at competition create a microcosm of economic theories. The environmental themes in SpongeBob are sometimes explicit but often subtle. Episodes dealing with pollution, overfishing, and habitat destruction provide environmental messages without being preachy. The show's portrayal of ocean life as complex and valuable might influence viewers' attitudes toward marine conservation, even if subconsciously. The representation of different personality types and neurodivergent traits in characters provides representation often missing from children's media. SpongeBob's hyperactivity and attention issues, Patrick's learning differences, and Squidward's oppression are portrayed as character traits rather than problems to be solved. This normalization of difference sends important messages about acceptance and diversity. The philosophy of optimism versus pessimism plays out through SpongeBob and Squidward's contrasting worldviews. SpongeBob's relentless positivity in the face of setbacks demonstrates resilience and the power of perspective. Squidward's negativity, while often justified by his circumstances, shows how pessimism can become self-fulfilling prophecy. Their dynamic explores whether happiness is a choice or a result of circumstances. The role of imagination in Bikini Bottom is celebrated consistently. The ability to find joy in simple things like bubbles or cardboard boxes suggests that entertainment and fulfillment don't require expensive or complex tools. The power of imagination to transform reality, literally in some episodes, reinforces creativity's importance in problem-solving and happiness. The treatment of friendship in the show goes beyond simple morals about being nice. The complex dynamics between SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward show that friendship can be complicated, that people can care about each other while also driving each other crazy. The show doesn't pretend relationships are simple, but shows them as messy, rewarding, and worth maintaining despite difficulties. The recurring theme of identity and self-acceptance appears throughout various episodes. Characters frequently struggle with who they are versus who they want to be. SpongeBob's attempt to be normal or mature always fail because they go against his essential nature. The message that being yourself is better than being someone else's idea of perfect resonates throughout the series. The show's approach to failure and persistence is remarkably sophisticated. Characters fail constantly, from SpongeBob's driving test to Plankton's schemes to Squidward's artistic ambitions. Yet they continue trying, showing that failure is not final unless you stop attempting. This resilience modeling provides important lessons about perseverance and maintaining hope despite setbacks. As we explore the deeper lore of Bikini Bottom, certain mysteries stand out as particularly intriguing. The prehistoric era of Bikini Bottom, occasionally shown in special episodes, reveals that the area has been inhabited for millions of years. Primitive versions of SpongeBob and Patrick, called Spongegar and Pater, lived in caves and discovered fire, which somehow burned even then. This prehistoric era suggests that Bikini Bottom's unique properties have existed since ancient times. The question of how Bikini Bottom's economy actually functions becomes more puzzling the more you examine it. The town seems to have a complete economic system with multiple businesses, yet the customer base appears limited. The Krusty Krab is incredibly successful, but we rarely see more than a handful of customers at once. This economic mystery might suggest that Bikini Bottom's population is larger than shown, or that different economic rules apply underwater. The education and knowledge level of Bikini Bottom residents varies wildly. Some characters demonstrate advanced knowledge in specific areas, while being ignorant of basic facts. Sandy's scientific genius contrasts with Patrick's inability to understand simple concepts. This variation might reflect different educational philosophies, or could suggest that intelligence works differently for different species. The government structure of Bikini Bottom remains largely unclear. There's a mayor who appears occasionally, police force, and some civic infrastructure, but the actual governing system is vague. Laws seem to exist, but are enforced inconsistently. This loose governmental structure might reflect the town's small size, or could suggest a more libertarian approach to governance. The role of magic and supernatural elements in Bikini Bottom adds another layer of complexity. While most of the town operates on quasi-scientific principles, genuine magic appears regularly. The Flying Dutchman's ghostly powers, mermaids with magical abilities, and occasional reality warping events suggest that Bikini Bottom exists in a universe where both science and magic are real and occasionally intersect. The concept of time in Bikini Bottom operates on multiple levels. While days pass normally, larger time scales seem compressed or extended as needed. Characters can reference events from decades ago, while not aging appropriately. Holidays come and go, without years necessarily passing between them. This temporal flexibility might be a characteristic of the underwater world, or a narrative convention that prioritizes story over chronology. The relationship between Bikini Bottom and the surface world remains intentionally ambiguous. Occasional references to human activities, appearances of human objects, and Sandy's connection to Texas confirm that the surface world exists. However, the extent of contact and mutual awareness between the two worlds is unclear. This separation allows Bikini Bottom to exist as its own universe while maintaining connections to our reality. Now, let's explore the extended universe and spin-off lore that has developed around SpongeBob. The various movies have added layers to the canon, sometimes contradicting TV episodes, but generally expanding the world's scope. The first movie's journey to Shell City established that Bikini Bottom exists in a larger ocean with dangerous territories between settlements. The introduction of King Neptune added mythological elements to what had been a relatively grounded underwater world. The concept of multiple King Neptunes appearing throughout the series with different appearances and personalities suggests either multiple rulers using the same title or timeline inconsistencies. Each version of Neptune brings different mythological elements, from classical Greek god characteristics to more generic fairy tale king traits. These variations add richness, but also confusion, to Bikini Bottom's mythology. The superhero universe within SpongeBob, primarily through Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, suggests a rich history of costume crime fighting that preceded the current era. Their rogues gallery, their gadgets, and their adventures imply decades of stories that happened before the show's time frame. This superhero history adds depth to Bikini Bottom's past and suggests the town has faced greater threats than currently shown. The international SpongeBob variants and references to other underwater communities worldwide suggest a global underwater civilization. References to other oceans having their own versions of familiar characters or similar communities implies that Bikini Bottom's situation is not unique. This global perspective expands the universe beyond a single unusual town to an entire parallel underwater world. The musical elements of SpongeBob, from the numerous songs within episodes to the Broadway musical, have created a musical canon that adds emotional and narrative depth. These songs often reveal character feelings and motivations more directly than dialogue, providing insight into inner lives. The fact that characters regularly break into song suggests a world where musical expression is natural and expected. The video games have introduced locations, characters, and lore that exist in a semi-canonical space. These games often feature areas of Bikini Bottom not shown in the show, suggesting the town is larger and more complex than the episodes reveal. While their canonical status is debatable, they provide additional texture to the world's geography and history. The comics and books have expanded character backstories and relationships in ways the show hasn't explored. These materials sometimes contradict show canon, but often provide interesting alternatives or additions to character histories. They represent the extended universe thinking about questions the show hasn't answered. As we near the conclusion of our journey through Bikini Bottom's lore, let's reflect on the themes and lessons that emerge from this underwater world. The central theme of optimism in the face of adversity runs throughout every aspect of the show. SpongeBob's unwavering positive attitude, even when faced with failure, rejection, or disaster, demonstrates that happiness is often a choice rather than a result of circumstances. The value of work and finding meaning in whatever job you have is consistently reinforced. SpongeBob's pride in being a fry cook, despite the job's low status and pay, shows that satisfaction comes from doing your best regardless of the task. This message values all work and suggests that dignity comes from effort rather than position. The importance of friendship and community appears in every character relationship. Even Squidward, who claims to hate his neighbors, is shown to actually care about them when they're truly in danger. The show suggests that we're all connected, that isolation is ultimately harmful, and that even difficult relationships have value. The acceptance of different intelligences and ways of being is subtly woven throughout. Patrick's different way of thinking is occasionally shown to have its own validity. Sandy's science and SpongeBob's intuition are both valuable. The show suggests there's no single right way to approach life or solve problems. The environmental messages, while not heavy-handed, are consistent. The ocean is shown as a vibrant, complex ecosystem where every creature has value. Pollution and environmental destruction are portrayed as unequivocally bad. The beauty and diversity of ocean life is celebrated, potentially influencing viewers' attitudes toward marine conservation. The show's approach to failure as a learning opportunity rather than an ending is remarkably sophisticated for children's programming. Characters fail constantly but rarely give up permanently. This resilience modeling teaches that persistence is more important than immediate success, and that failure is a normal part of any journey. The celebration of imagination and creativity over material possessions is consistent. The most fun activities in Bikini Bottom are often free or simple: jellyfishing, bubble blowing, playing with boxes. This animaterialist message suggests that joy comes from experience and imagination rather than consumption. The complex portrayal of adult life through Squidward provides older viewers with a character who reflects their own struggles with unfulfilling work, unachieved dreams, and difficult neighbors. Rather than dismissing these feelings, the show acknowledges them while also suggesting that Squidward's negativity is partially self-imposed. The treatment of authority figures as fallible humans rather than perfect leaders is notable. Mr. Krabs is greedy, Mrs. Puff is overwhelmed, and even King Neptune is shown to have weaknesses. This humanization of authority suggests that everyone is flawed and that respect should be earned rather than automatically granted to positions. The show's subtle commentary on capitalism through the Krusty Krab and Chumbucket rivalry provides economic education while entertaining. The dynamics of competition, monopoly, worker exploitation, and consumer choice are all explored through the lens of underwater fast food restaurants. As we prepare to conclude, let's consider the lasting impact of Bikini Bottom on popular culture. The show has created a language of memes and references that transcend its original audience. Phrases like "I'm ready," "Is mayonnaise an instrument?" and "No, this is Patrick" have become part of internet culture, used by people who may not even watch the show regularly. The character archetypes established by SpongeBob have influenced how we categorize personalities. People identify themselves as SpongeBobs or Squidwards, using these characters as shorthand for complex personality traits. This cultural impact shows how deeply these characters have embedded themselves in collective consciousness. The show's longevity has created a generational bridge, with parents who watch as children now sharing it with their own kids. This multi-generational appeal comes from the show operating on multiple levels, with simple humor for children and subtle complexity for adults. The ability to appeal to such a wide audience has made SpongeBob a cultural touchstone. The influence on animation and children's programming has been significant. The show's success proved that children's shows could be surreal, that they didn't need to be educational in obvious ways, and that complex humor could work for young audiences. Many subsequent animated shows have followed the path SpongeBob blazed. The philosophical questions raised by the show's universe continue to generate discussion and analysis. Academic papers have been written about SpongeBob's economics, philosophy, and social structures. The show has become a text for serious analysis, while remaining primarily entertainment, achieving a rare balance. The mysteries that remain unsolved keep fans engaged years after episodes air. The secret formula, the complete history of Bikini Bottom, the true nature of the physics involved, all remain open questions that generate speculation and theory crafting. These mysteries create an active fandom that goes beyond passive consumption. As our exploration draws to a close, we see that Bikini Bottom is more than just a setting for a children's cartoon. It's a fully realized world with its own history, geography, culture, and logic. The inconsistencies and impossibilities aren't flaws but features, creating a universe where anything can happen but where emotional truth remains constant. The characters who inhabit this underwater world have become more than animated figures. They represent aspects of human experience, from SpongeBob's irrepressible optimism to Squidward's existential despair, from Patrick's simple contentment to Sandy's ambitious drive. Together, they create a community that, despite its absurdity, feels real and relatable. The themes explored in Bikini Bottom address fundamental human concerns. How do we find meaning in routine work? How do we maintain optimism in a difficult world? What does friendship really mean? How do we accept ourselves and others despite flaws? These questions are explored not through preaching, but through comedy and adventure, making the lessons feel discovered rather than taught. The lore of SpongeBob SquarePants, when examined in totality, reveals a creative work of surprising depth and consistency despite its surface chaos. The world building, while operating on cartoon logic, maintains its own internal consistency. The character development, while cyclical rather than linear, explores different facets of personality and relationship. The themes, while presented simply, address complex philosophical and social issues. As you drift off to sleep, let the gentle current of Bikini Bottom carry you into peaceful dreams. Perhaps you'll dream of jellyfishing in fields of swaying seagrass, of enjoying a Krabby Patty at the Krusty Krab, of blowing bubbles that float impossibly through the water. The world of Bikini Bottom, with all its impossibilities and contradictions, offers a space where logic can be suspended, where joy can be found in simplicity, where friendship transcends differences. The sounds of Bikini Bottom fade slowly into the background of sleep. The distant laughter of SpongeBob, the grumbling of Squidward, the excited shouting of Patrick, the cha-ching of Mr. Krabs' cash register, all blend into a soothing underwater symphony. The impossible physics, the unanswered questions, the logical contradictions all dissolve into the fluid logic of dreams. Rest peacefully in the knowledge that somewhere, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a place where fire burns underwater and beaches exist on the ocean floor, a sponge and a starfish are having adventures. Their world, impossible and wonderful, continues its existence in the imagination of millions, a testament to the power of creativity and the enduring appeal of optimism. The mysteries of Bikini Bottom will remain mysteries, and that's perfectly fine. Not everything needs to be explained or understood. Sometimes it's enough to simply accept that in this underwater world, anything is possible, friendship is valuable, and there's always reason to be ready for whatever comes next. As sleep finally claims you, let the last image be of Bikini Bottom at peace. The Krusty Krab is closed for the night. SpongeBob is asleep in his pineapple house. Gary is curled up in his bed, and even Squidward is getting a rare moment of quiet. The town rests beneath the waves, ready for tomorrow's adventures, forever preserved in that perfect moment between one story ending and another beginning. Sweet dreams, and remember, you're always welcome in Bikini Bottom, where the physics are impossible, the logic is flexible, but the heart is always in the right place. The complete lore of this underwater world now rests in your mind, ready to inspire dreams of your own underwater adventures. Sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with the gentle, joyful absurdity of life beneath the waves.